Hey guys, I'm back again, and I have for you today the Reading Diversity Tag. But before I start the Reading Diversity Tag, I just want to make an announcement that we are definitely having our live discussion of Ruby by Cynthia Bond. It's going to be Danielle from OneSmallPaw, Dominique from Token in America, and it's Dominique that will be hosting. I will put all the links to their channels below, and it will be on Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Paris time. So if you're interested in following discussion, come on over and, listen to us chat about it, ask us questions, and all the rest. Okay, so let's get on to the Reading Diversity Tag. You know exactly what this tag is about, so I don't have to go through it again. I'm probably one of the last people that hasn't done this tag, but I finally took the time to choose some things. So first, I'm going to start with this part of the world. I am not super familiar with all of the writers. I mean, I have heard of some of them, and I have read a few things, and mostly something that I really enjoyed reading was Kathy Lett. She writes kind of comical, stories about her main character. I don't remember the main character's name, but she travels to London and she tries to make her life in the UK, and it's kind of a disaster, but it's really funny. But I don't have any of her books, but I do have The Slap, and I don't know if you've heard people talk about this. I think I've seen maybe one person review this book, but I read this book a couple of years back with my book club, and it is about this sort of very plain middle class group of friends, and they get together regularly to do barbecues and things. At one of the barbecues, one of the men has a problem with one of the kids at the party and slaps the kid, and from there the story ensues into something a lot more dramatic and kind of interesting. Now, it does have its downside that there's a lot of cursing, but other than that, it does give a certain aspect of Australia that we're probably not used to really seeing or hearing about. Now, they did turn this into a TV show, from what I understand, which became very successful. So, The Slap. And the next novel I have from, I think this writer is Australian. Her name is Elizabeth Harrower. And this one, I picked this one up because I heard about it on the First Tuesday Book Club. They spoke about it, and it is after Laura and Claire are abandoned by their mother, Felix is there to help, even to marry Laura if she will have him. Little by little, the two sisters grow complicit in his obsessions, his cruelty, his need to control. Yeah, this sounds really interesting, and when I heard them talk about it on the First Tuesdays Book Club, I went and tried to find it, and it was hard to find because it's really hard to find some of these Australian books. But yeah, this is another one that I haven't read, but I hope to read. The book that I've read, and you've heard me talk about it on here, is Patriotism by Yukio Mishima. This is a novella, and it is a very interesting look into a couple's last moments together before they commit suicide, one after the other. Now, yeah, if you are interested in reading Japanese literature, I think this is a good place to start because it's short and it's extremely well written, beautifully written. Something really interesting to check out. In Asia, I also have The White Tiger, which is one of my favorite novels. It was a Man Booker Prize winner. I think it was in 2008, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 2008. And this is by Aravana Diga. If you haven't checked this out, please do. Very interesting insight into India, the sprawling city, of Mumbai, and, everything that goes on. Something that I would like to read from Asia is Forbidden Colors, and this is by Yukio Mishima. And yeah, I'm really enthralled in the idea of reading more of Mishima. I'm not really into this Murakami phase that everybody seems to be going through, and Ishiguro and all that. But yeah, there's something about Mishima that really does spark my interest. For Europe, I have first is Fred Vargas, Wash This Blood Clean from my hands. This is a English version. Fred Valgas is a woman, and she writes detective story, and her detective stories have a slight hint of philosophy and you know, reflection, and just something different than a typical thriller or detective novel. And I read this with my book club, and I found this intriguingly good. And it goes with the same main character. I think his name is Commissaire Adamsberg is the main character. And yeah, really, really interesting. I kind of wish I would have read this one in French. I might go back and read this in French. But yeah, Fred Valgas has lots of books out. Check her out. She's really good. More European novels that I have read is La Robe du Futur, which I have done a review on this. I'll link it below. This is a graphic novel, and it is a very interesting look into living in the Middle East, like around 1978 to 1984, and it's written from the main character's point of view as a man. Now, one that I would like to read is The Wrong Blood by Manuel de Lope. And this one is a novel about two women who meet each other, but under very strange circumstances, and you follow how their lives continue. And this one is a Spanish author, Manuel de Lope. I think I found him, as one of my friends here in France told me about him, and that's why I had picked this one up. I do strongly suggest you all pick up Gathering of Waters, and this is by Bernice L. McFadden. She's a wonderful African-American writer, and this has a hint of magical realism if you like that kind of thing, but it's very much just a hint. It's very, very good. Next, I would also urge you all to pick up is Kindred. Fantastic. Octavia Butler. If you haven't read any Octavia Butler, this might be a good place to start. It is a book that is a standalone, but very interesting, about an African-American woman who gets thrown back into the past, into slavery times, and it's how she has to survive there and how she has to try to get back into today's life. And I think it's set in 1972 before she gets thrown back into slavery. Now, what I would like to read from North America is Man from Kim Thuy, and I saw this over at on Jason's channel, The Heavy Blanks, and they talked about this for Hello Hemlock, the Canadian lit group, and when I heard them talk about this, I was very intrigued by it and wanted to pick it up, so I did. First, I'm going to propose to you Cutting for Stone. Cutting for Stone takes place in Ethiopia, and it follows the storyline of a doctor, or who is really a surgeon, and it follows also a nun. And you get everything in this book. You get everything from surgical, techniques to doing surgery and medical procedures in Africa, to just everything, historical events that take place in Ethiopia. Excellent book if you haven't read it. It's a bit of a chunker, but it reads pretty quickly. Another book that I would like to suggest to you is Broken Glass by Alain Mambonko. And Alain Mambonko is a writer from the Congo. And this book was suggested to me by one of my Congolese friends, and this is one of her favorite writers. And this story is called Broken Glass, and Broken Glass is a man who is charged to write about the life that is going on, or the stories that are going on in this local cafe in this little African town. And the thing about this is Alain Mambonko writes in a very modern type of way, so I guess it's what you would call a little bit of stream of consciousness kind of writing. And you see, like, it doesn't have a lot of punctuation. And it, they don't have proper chapters, you see. They have breaks in the writing, but it's not written like chapter 2 or chapter 3, and it doesn't have a chapter name. And like the beginning of the sentences Don't start with capital letters necessarily. Yeah, it's pretty experimental. Even the last lines of the sentences don't end in periods or in things like that. And it's a really interesting type of writing. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. I must have read this maybe 4 years ago or something like that. Thought it was really cool. But I also want to suggest this one, which is Memoir. It's called Memoirs of a Porcupine. And this is another book by Alain Mambuku. And it has the same type of, you know, of writing. You know, it's this sort of stream of consciousness kind of thing. So, yeah. So that's what I have for Africa. Now, I have, for books that I have read, I have Love in the Time of Cholera. I don't have 100 Years of Solitude, but that is actually my favorite by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. But I have this new edition of Love in the Time of Cholera because I have to read it with my book club. I've already read this. I wasn't a fan of this when I read it the first time. So I'm hoping that, you know, things will change and I'll like it the second time. I don't know. But, you know, I would suggest you read 100 Years of Solitude. Now, for things I would like to read is, the first one is Memoirs of My Melancholy Horse. Yeah, this is a little tiny one. And this one is, you know, on the eve of his 19th birthday, our unnamed protagonist, an undistinguished journalist and lifelong bachelor, decides to give himself the gift of a night of wild love with an adolescent virgin. Okay, already you're thinking, what the heck? I don't know. This was a gift, so I'm gonna, you know, check it out at some point. Another book that I would like to read is called The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. And she is Brazilian. Now, if I remember correctly, Clarice Lispector was born in an Eastern European country. I can't remember which one. I want to say either Romania or Poland. I can't remember. But her family moved over to Brazil. And so she basically grew up and was raised in Brazil. So she's considered to be a Brazilian writer. And quite a good one, actually. This book was suggested to me by one of my lovely subscribers. I am so sorry. I can't remember what your name is. This was a while back. I finally picked this one up. So I'm hoping that I can get to it. And this one is really good because it has an introduction by Colm Tobin in the beginning of this novel. So I know there's quite a few of my subscribers like to read Colm Tobin. Camille loves him, I know. So he has written the introduction to this book. It's just, you know, a little short something. But, you know, I hope this one will be really, you know, interesting to read. So that's all I have for you concerning reading diversely. I hope you find something in there that you're interested in reading too. If there's something you want to ask me concerning any of these books, link it all below. And I will see you on Sunday for the hangout. Bye.